Well, hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Ladies Listen Up. We're not going to talk about what's your relationship with your money, not per se today, but before you get started or we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share this information with somebody else. Let's run on over and see what Grandma's cookie jar has in store for us today. Man, pulling out of the first nugget, it says, leave footprints of love and kindness wherever you go. Wow, that is amazing. Leave that footprint wherever you go. And today is, it's kind of a subject that's dear to my heart. I'm going to talk a little bit about Judge Lynn Toler, right? And the loss of her husband. Just wanted to pay respects to her because I have such high regard and respect for her and for her work and for everything that she, that we can see that she, stands for, right? And she's over a judge. She's a judge over divorce court, right? Let me wet my whistle. This is a little bit of a difficult topic today, but a very necessary topic because when you talk about relationships and you talk about life, man, she has a book out. It's my mother's rule, the practical guide to becoming an emotional genius, right? We did a show a couple episodes ago about emotional intelligence, right? And, to go through the grieving process, one of the things that I quote her in saying that, her husband, when she talks about him, she says, a beautiful man, both inside and out. And she says she's in a million pieces. I can't even fathom, what she's going through right now. But it also, when I read the article, it just put me back in the mindset about enjoying it each and every day. And when I just read the Cookie Jar Secret and it talk about leaving a footprint of love and it's so important that each and every day we show that. I love digging into the story of Judge Lynn Toler and her husband Eric Mumford. He passed away at the age of 71. She talks about what she talked about in her book. Well, first of all, their love story starting in when they met in 1986 and they were married in 1989. In addition to Mumford, he had 4 children prior to their marriage, and then they had 2 more in their union or during their marriage, which lasted over 3 decades. What an amazing accomplishment, right? To be married successfully over 3 decades. Now, she's an author and a host, and she was talking candidly, or she spoke candidly on marital issues, right? And she talked about the ups and the downs and the roller coaster rides and how things initially felt one sided. But this is what she did. And this is a wise woman that builds their house, right? She said that once she became or began to air her grievances in an effective and productive manner, their marriage blossomed and they were able to get on one accord. And I think that's so important with relationships, right? That you begin to know how to effectively communicate with one another, right? And I thank you all so much for all of the feedback, as far as some of the episodes that we talk about relationships. The relationships are huge because, oftentimes we just don't know how to navigate effectively through relationships and we get so upset. We talked about fragmented pieces on one of the other episodes and how, we get stuck in trauma and then you come with somebody and then you want to work through the issues, but you don't know how because part of you is still stuck in that traumatic situation, right? So I'm so happy that some of the information that we're passing on is being really, just a place to be able to help and to start to heal some of those areas inside of us because that's a lot to try to work through trauma. But I love the resolve that Judge Toler talked about when she said that she began to air her grievances. Sometimes we feel offended and we don't express it. And the other person don't even know that they offended us because we're not saying anything and we're going along just to get along, right? So I think that was great the way that she expressed some of the things in her relationship or her marriage that helped her to keep her marriage glued together for over 3 decades. That's a huge, huge accomplishment, right? Here's another quote. She says, once I got past the anger, I started to address my own fears. Oftentimes it's our own fears and learn how to communicate effectively. He followed suit because he saw that I had changed in a way that was in his best interest, right? It didn't feel like it at first, but eventually he got there. We then decided to fight the problem instead of fighting one another. This is according to an online article from Vibe, right? And I looked into, she wrote a book, My Mother's Rule, which we talked about just a little bit ago, Practical Guide to Emotional Genius, because oftentimes that's actually where it all starts when you talk about love and relationships and marriage. I just love that she lived her example. So, just out of respect for such an amazing human being, right? I want to just couple of her quotes because she has some really famous quotes here that are some goods, right? That we can learn a lot from. According to Splendid Woman, some of the quotes when she talks about marriage, she says marriage involves compromise, sacrifice, and on occasion a bit of suffering, right? And oftentimes, what is it? No risk, no reward. We have to be willing, to go into relationships with. I talk about the Dear Future Wifey podcast. He won number one podcast last year. Shout out to Latarius R. Whitfield. Never met him, but I just love his podcast because there's so much rich information. And often times when I go over and I listen to his podcast, it helped me to understand about healing and about relationships and about some of the things that I never even thought about or knew about, right? And oftentimes it's, we have to do our own work with our own selves so that we can give our fullness to another person. We can't give our fullness to somebody if we're not full ourselves, if we're not at 100%, if we're operating from fragmented pieces that may have been traumatized. We can't give our fullness to somebody else, no matter how much or how hard we try. But I love what she said. It was a patience that she worked on herself, and then he saw the difference. She worked on them together. He saw the difference, and that made them have such a rich longevity in that relationship, right? So I think that's amazing. One of her other quotes is, you have to make a conscious decision that you are not going to be angry anymore, because it's a conscious decision to say, I paid my dues, now I want my joy. And that's where I am. I paid my dues, and now I want my joy. I won't settle for anything less, right? I love the fact of being able to express ourselves, being able to communicate effectively. Oftentimes, because of those past traumas, those past hurts, fears, we can't, by the time we get through all of that and get to the healthy place, right, to try and get that information out of what we feel or how we feel, it's coming out through all of those, layers of hurt and pain. So it's coming through all of that. And by the time you spew it at somebody, that's what it becomes, a spewing at somebody, versus a gently giving them the information or kind of nudging them along the way, understanding. That takes a lot. And I love that book. She talked about becoming an emotional genius, and it just depends. Are we trying to be right, or are we working towards a win-win for both parties, right? Let's dig into some more of her quotes, right? Every moment in time is an option and an opportunity. Nobody commands it but you, right? The next one here we have, your man or woman should not be your source of income, my dear. It's a relationship, not an income source, not a source of income. I like that one too. That's really cute. Because what are you in the relationship for? Are you in the relationship for, for money? Or is that made clear? Is that our agreement or negotiation? Or are you really in it to win it, to have a win-win for both parties? What is the motivation for it, right? Beautiful to be able to come together because you want to be together, because you love one another, or you've built this solid foundation, solid relationship with somebody, and now it's a win-win on both ends, versus, a relationship that feels like the scales is always weighing against you, right? Let's go. Here are a couple more. I love this one too. Yelling is like writing your point of view on a missile. I can visualize that. You may be right, but the truth gets destroyed in the explosion, right? Again, are we trying to be right, or are we trying to get to the win-win? Oh, this is a great one, ladies. Never make a man tell you he doesn't want you more than once. We're not in the convincing business, right? Right. Okay. Let's see. Men do better when they get to beg for you, not when you beg. They need to hunt. Woo! Talk about a little salt on the wound, right? That's a real good one. Men need to hunt. Understanding the process, ladies. Understanding the process. Wow. Let's go to some of the wisdom in some of the quotes, right? Usually, when someone says or does all the right things, it's not magic, it's practice. Wow. Wow. That's a good one. Good one, good one, good one, good one, good one. You marry the man you date, not the one he promises to become. Do we need to hear that again? I do. You marry the man you date, not the one he promised to become. Who is he now, right? Wow. Here's another one. You don't ever move anywhere with a man unless you got a ring on your finger. You just don't do it, right? Here we go. Here's a good one too. You're scared about being vulnerable. You can't love fully unless you're fully accessible, and you can't be fully accessible unless you're willing to be vulnerable. Man, oh man, that's good. That's really good. That's really good. And to become vulnerable, that means we've done our work on ourselves. And there's no allotted amount of time. It just depends on when you can get through those, those blocks and start pulling those pieces back together, right? All of those fragmented parts of you, that has to come back together before you can be whole and be able to what am I trying to say here? Be able to show up in your fullness, in the fullness of who you are, right? Wow, wow, wow. This is something. This is something too. She says that I never ever award pain and suffering in her courtroom because I think pain and suffering is a part of life. I kind of agree with her with that. Pain and suffering is a part of life, you know. But if we inflict a lot of pain and suffering on somebody else, I think the jury might still be out on that one for me, right? Don't let the fools that fearful and the haters conduct their business in your head. Don't let the fools, the fearful, and the haters conduct business in your head. Ooh, that hit good. That really hit good. Hit. Right? Let's go a couple more here. That's what a man does. He looks at a problem and he handles it and doesn't run off into another corner. That's all day grown man acting. Ooh wee, ooh wee, ooh wee. Let's go down to some of the ones quotes to motivate you. You cannot control the situation until you can control yourself. Woo, I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Here's another quote about a courtroom. I realize that a lot of people in my courtroom have problems, not because they made a wrong decision, but because they fail to make a decision at all. And when you fail to make a decision at all, guess what? That's still a decision. Oh my goodness. Here we go. You can't make people do right by you, but you can decide how often you let them do you wrong. Ooh, that's good too. That's good too. The only worthwhile person to compare yourself to is you, because it is you. You. That's good. And I think she had here the you used to be. So let me read that one again. Oh, because I got caught up in that one. The only worthwhile person to compare yourself to is the you used to be. Wow. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is a peaceful thing. It neither excuses nor rationalizes. It just frees you from the emotional baggage of others' wrongs. Wow, that's really good too. Here, let's take one more. I used to think my life has to be in order to be happy. Woo-wee, I'm going to talk about that one a little bit. Now I understand that if my head's in order, life's disorder can't define me. I'm telling you all, I just got over something. I could not go to sleep. Here's the story. I could not go to sleep unless all my dishes were washed and put away, right? And no matter what, tired or whatever, I drag myself in there and do that. I'm not saying a messy kitchen, but I didn't want a glass, a spoon, or anything in the sink, right? And just recently, I let myself be free and said, you know what? It's going to be there in the morning. So don't worry about it, right? So all of that that OCD about everything being in place. That's a lot of work, y'all. That's a whole lot of work, right? Let's see what else we got here. If you got hit tomorrow by a bus, your life would proceed, right? I think that's, making bad decisions because you just gotta have that person, right? Making bad decisions. I think that's where that quote came from. If you get mad, they focus on defending their position. If you're cool, they hear you better. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is just amazing. And I'll read one more here. Understand the depth and breadth of what what it is to be in a relationship so you don't get swept away by the fumes of fakery. Imagine image is a false prophet. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. These are some great quotes, and again, I just wanted to spend a little bit of time, in the wisdom of Judge Lynn Toler and paying our respects to her, with the loss of her husband. I just wanted to, just come on and just, give that to us today because in some of her quotes and some of her wisdom, you may see yourself. And it may be something that, we could tweak a little just to get a better experience, right? So that we can follow grandma's cookie jar secret or cookie jar nugget in her cookie jar secret to live a footprint of love as we go forward. All righty. Don't forget to listen, learn, and leverage the information. Like, share, and subscribe. Share this information with somebody else. We never know what somebody is holding on in their heart. That one word can help them. All righty. I'll see you next time. Bye for now and stay fearless.